The grand assembly chamber of the Council of 10 Worlds shimmered under 100 swirling lights, each one a miniature sun crafted by alien engineers. Around the vast, circular table sat the most influential beings in the galaxy, creatures with skin like molten glass, chitinous diplomats tapping on their holographic slates, and aquatic sages encased in shimmering spheres of water. It was a rare event, one that only occurred when a new species sought entry into their ancient alliance. Today, it was the human's turn. Marcus Hale shuffled into the room, his yellow uniform crumpled at the edges, his curly hair bobbing with each step. His name tag, reading NX470, caught the glare of the lights as he squinted around, grinning like he had stumbled into a friendly neighborhood bar rather than the deadliest diplomatic trap in known space. He had no idea that this welcome feast was more than ceremonial. His hosts, however, exchanged sidelong glances and subtle nods. The Varnock nectar, the Council's most sacred and lethal tradition, sat already prepared, golden and faintly steaming, in a tall, elegant glass at Marcus's seat. As he dropped heavily into the chair, the table's surface rippled under his elbows, shifting to present an array of bizarre foods and the gleaming drink. Marcus gave a low whistle. "Now this is hospitality," he chuckled, earning murmurs from the council members. Some leaned forward in morbid curiosity. Others leaned back, unwilling to be splattered by whatever bodily reaction the human was about to endure. The council's High Chancellor, a towering entity with translucent wings and an aura of constantly shifting color, clicked his mandibles and announced in a buzzing voice, "Marcus Hale of Earth, we welcome you. It is custom to toast the unity of species with a sip of our finest brew. May your spirit merge with ours." Marcus caught none of the malice woven into the Chancellor's words. With an easy laugh, he seized the glass. The drink smelled oddly sweet, like citrus and ammonia, but he shrugged. He had consumed worse things during late-night dares back home. "To new friends," he declared, raising the glass high. The room tensed, a sea of eyes, lenses, and sensory stalks fixated on him. Somewhere, a creature resembling a moss-covered toad discreetly activated a recording device. Without a hint of hesitation, Marcus downed the Varnock nectar in 3 large gulps. For a split second, a hush so complete fell over the chamber that even the automated vents seemed to pause. Every being present braced for the inevitable: spasms, convulsions, death. Marcus smacked his lips thoughtfully. "Tastes kinda like mango juice." "Not bad." The silence fractured. A low murmur rippled through the council, an audible static of disbelief. Several delegates turned to their aides, whispering in urgent tones. A slender being made entirely of bioluminescent tendrils dropped the ceremonial pen they were nervously fiddling with. Even the High Chancellor's shimmering colors dimmed to a confused gray. The Council had seen hundreds of species brought low by Varnock nectar. It was formulated specifically to exploit universal biological weaknesses: neurotoxins targeting central nervous systems, molecular acids slipping past digestive defenses, prion designed to short-circuit neural patterns. No one, in the history of the 10 worlds, had survived a full glass. And yet here sat Marcus Hale, smiling wide, wiping his mouth on his sleeve, and reaching casually for what appeared to be a bowl of wiggling, fluorescent worms. The Chancellor shifted in his seat, his voice a touch more brittle. "Honored guests, you have imbibed the full measure of our offering?" Marcus looked puzzled. "Yeah, sure. Was I supposed to sip it or something?" The gravity of the moment crashed into the gathered council. Delegates who had bet heavily on human failure stared at the floor. The warriors who hoped for an easy conquest now reevaluated the reports from their spies. A human immune to the Council's greatest chemical weapon? Impossible. Dangerous. Intriguing. Marcus, oblivious to the storm he had unleashed, poked experimentally at the bowl of worms. "Hey, these guys look alive. Are they supposed to wriggle, or is that just a garnish?" A creature with 4 arms and a shell of polished obsidian leaned across the table, its voice tight. "Human, are you aware that the drink you consumed was potent?" Marcus grinned. "Buddy, you should see what passes for tequila back on Earth. We build an entire holiday around drinking stuff that could fuel spaceships." The council sat stunned, a collective mind reeling. If one human could survive Varnock nectar, what did it mean for the species as a whole? Had Earth been underestimated? Had they just invited a predator into their carefully balanced ecosystem? Amid the growing whispers and the flurry of clandestine signals transmitted between ambassadors, Marcus happily helped himself to more food, chatting amiably with the nearest delegates, unaware that he had, with a single sip, shattered centuries-old certainties. At the head of the table, the High Chancellor leaned forward, tapping his clawed fingers against the table in rapid succession, a signal for immediate containment measures. He could already envision the secret sessions that would follow, the laboratory analyses, the desperate search for explanations. But even as the Chancellor schemed, another sensation stirred among the council members, an emotion rarely felt among their kind: excitement. Perhaps humanity was not a threat to be neutralized but an ally to be courted. Perhaps Marcus Hale had just rewritten the destiny of 1,000 worlds. In the center of it all, Marcus lifted another strange, wobbling drink and raised it toward his bewildered hosts. Cheers! The future of intergalactic diplomacy tilted on its axis, and no one at the table quite knew which way it would fall. The chamber's polished walls hummed faintly as dozens of invisible communication channels buzzed to life. Delegates whispered into concealed translators. Urgent data flashed across retinal displays. All the while, Marcus continued his feast, blithely unaware of the mounting panic spiraling around him. Within minutes, a slender figure in a sterile, silver uniform approached the table. Dr. Vesh Tal, the council's chief xenobiologist, bowed low, a gesture rarely offered even to kings. His bioluminescent skin pulsed with anxious green as he addressed Marcus. "Honored human," Vesh said carefully, his voice rippling like a stone skipping across water. "It is customary for newcomers to undergo a health inspection after the ceremonial tasting. A tradition to ensure your well-being." Marcus, mouth full of something that tasted suspiciously like spicy rubber bands, swallowed and grinned. "Health check, huh? You guys are thorough. Sure, lead the way, document." He stood up, wobbling slightly, though more from the sheer amount of alien cuisine he had consumed than any toxic effect. Vesh guided him down a gleaming corridor, flanked by guards who pretended they were there for honor but had very clear instructions to intervene if Marcus so much as sneezed wrong. The examination room resembled a surgical theater crossed with a wizard's workshop. Arrays of spinning, floating devices orbited a central table. Marcus climbed onto it without prompting, hands behind his head in mock relaxation. "Do I get a sticker after this?" Vesh offered a strained chuckle and activated the scans. Light sheets passed over Marcus's body, his cellular structure projected in vivid, terrifying detail onto massive screens. What they saw deepened the council's alarm. The poison markers, neurotoxins, molecular acids, tailored prion, should have devastated his system. Instead, the chemical signatures were dissolving harmlessly within his stomach, neutralized by a flood of enzymes the council's best minds hadn't even considered. The Varnock nectar's prion, designed to dismantle neural pathways, were trapped and destroyed before they could even reach his brain. Vesh's tendrils quivered as he tapped in urgent commands, zooming closer. Somehow, Marcus's digestive system was not simply resisting, it was adapting, learning from the foreign toxins, strengthening in real time. The human immune system, so chaotic and primitive by galactic standards, was, paradoxically, a masterpiece of evolutionary brutalism. It wasn't built for balance, it was built for war. Marcus whistled low as a holographic image of his own cells battling alien toxins danced in the air. "Man, that looks intense. Should I be worried?" "You appear to be thriving," Vesh managed to say, voice cracking slightly. He turned away quickly, transmitting encrypted reports to the council's emergency board. The results ignited chaos. Holographic feeds blinked into existence around the examination room, each one carrying the tense faces of the council's senior leaders. Arguments erupted instantly. "This is impossible," hissed a three-eyed reptilian ambassador. "The nectar was perfected across eons. We must quarantine him," demanded another, a misty being coalescing into a humanoid form. "Fools! interrupted a rumbling voice. This resilience could be harnessed. Meanwhile, Marcus lounged on the exam table, swinging his legs idly. So, am I good to go, or are we doing blood tests next? The Chancellor himself appeared, his wings unfurled to their fullest span, shimmering with new intensity. His voice was low, almost musical. Human, you are a phenomenon. An anomaly that demands understanding. Marcus scratched his head. Back home, they just call me lucky. The Chancellor inclined his head. Luck, perhaps. But luck changes the tides of empires. At a private signal from Vesh, a small container of Varnuk nectar was reintroduced, this time alongside a series of increasingly potent toxins, substances forbidden even among the Council races. If humanity's resistance was real, it had to be mapped, quantified, controlled. They offered Marcus another glass. For science, Vesh said, smiling with all the enthusiasm of a condemned man. Marcus sniffed the drink, shrugged, and took a hearty gulp. The reaction was immediate and underwhelming. He smacked his lips, grimaced slightly, and said, Bittersweet. Kinda like grapefruit that's been left in the sun too long. Across the monitors, the readings told a story no one could deny. The alien poisons broke apart like paper in a rainstorm upon contact with human biology. The implications struck them all at once. A species that could ingest, survive, and adapt to substances engineered to kill civilizations was not a species you challenged lightly. Every war plan drafted in hidden rooms, every covert action sketched against Earth, was now under grim reconsideration. But more than fear, a different, more insidious emotion took root in the Chancellor's mind: opportunity. Marcus swung off the examination table with an easy motion, patting Vesh on the back hard enough to make the alien stagger. Well, Doc, thanks for the checkup. If you guys got any more of that yellow drink, I'm ready for round 2. Vesh blinked slowly. We may prepare another for you. Back in the Grand Chamber, the Council convened an emergency session, while Marcus ambled in behind them, waving cheerfully. He had not just survived the trial, he had inadvertently thrown the entire power structure of galactic diplomacy into flux. His smile, oblivious yet somehow defiant, promised only more surprises ahead. The Chancellor rose to address the assembly, his voice booming over the frantic whispers. We stand at a crossroads. The human defies every expectation. The Council must decide, adapt, or fall behind. At the center of the galaxy's most secretive and powerful conclave, Marcus Hale popped a strange, sizzling berry into his mouth and chewed thoughtfully. The Chancellor's mandibles clicked in steady rhythm as he considered the human now lounging against the polished wall, idly tossing one of the ceremonial drinking vessels in the air. Around him, the Council members stirred, their previous strategies disintegrating under the weight of a single impossible reality. Earth had been viewed as a minor curiosity, a backwater world that would, given enough centuries, catch up to galactic standards, or more likely, burn itself out in internecine wars before ever posing a threat. But now, in Marcus Hale, the Council faced something they had never anticipated: a species too stubborn, too reckless, or too uniquely constructed to be controlled by conventional means. The Chancellor lifted a claw, and the noise in the chamber instantly died. All eyes turned toward him as he spoke. We have an opportunity, he began, his voice low and deliberate. This human has demonstrated resilience unlike anything our simulations predicted. He must not be treated as an anomaly. He must become a partner. The word carried an electric charge. Partner was not a title lightly given. It implied recognition of equality. Worse, it implied trust. A few delegates bristled visibly, their features darkening. The warrior caste of the Brackthal delegation unsheathed their secondary mandibles in silent protest, but none dared speak aloud. To oppose the Chancellor now was to risk appearing obsolete. Marcus, catching the sudden shift in mood, straightened and tucked the vessel under his arm. Partner, huh? Sounds important. Are there snacks involved? There was a tense pause as the Council recalibrated their approach. Humor, they had learned, was a primary human defense mechanism, equal parts deflection and weapon. The Chancellor decided to meet Marcus on his terms. "There will be extensive refreshments," he said with a glint of amusement. Marcus grinned. "Then I'm in. Where do I sign?" Before a formal agreement could be etched into the Council's crystalline contracts, another voice cut through the chamber. Deep and resonant, it belonged to Ambassador Scorn, whose people, the Zevrak, had spent millennia perfecting biochemical warfare. Scorn's iridescent scales rippled as he stepped forward. "We cannot ignore the risk," he said, each syllable landing with deliberate force. "This human's immunity makes him dangerous. Today, it is our poisons he survives. Tomorrow, it could be our sovereignty he challenges." A ripple of unease passed through the gathered delegates. The Chancellor's wings flared slightly, signaling caution, but Marcus spoke before any formal rebuttal could be crafted. "Look, pal," Marcus said, his tone casual but his eyes sharp. "I didn't come here to pick a fight. I just showed up, drank your weird juice, and tried to be friendly. If that's a crime in your book, maybe you need to rethink your hospitality." The room stiffened at the human's bluntness. Diplomacy among the 10 worlds was an intricate dance of insinuation and veiled threats. Marcus's straightforwardness was like throwing a wrench into a precision machine, and somehow, it worked. Several ambassadors, weary of endless layers of protocol, exchanged furtive glances of reluctant admiration. The Chancellor seized the moment. "The Council must evolve," he said firmly. "Our future lies not in the stagnation of old methods, but in the forging of new alliances." He turned to Marcus, his multifaceted eyes glittering. "Marcus Hale of Earth, we extend to you a preliminary pact. You shall represent your species as an observer within the Council, afforded all rights and protections granted therein." Marcus scratched his chin theatrically. "Observer, huh? Sounds fancy. Do I get a cool badge or something?" A minor official rushed forward, presenting a shimmering sigil, a badge woven from light and nanocrystal filaments. Marcus pinned it crookedly to his rumpled shirt with a broad smile. "All right," he said, extending his hand. "You got yourself a deal." The Chancellor hesitated only a fraction of a second before clasping the human's hand, a gesture foreign to most of the Council but understood through countless intercepted human transmissions. A murmur ran through the chamber, a sound that was neither approval nor disapproval, but a kind of collective holding of breath. Behind the scenes, deals were already being rewritten. Earth's value as a trading partner, as a military ally, or as a potential threat, was being recalculated at dizzying speed. Ambassador Scorn retreated into the shadows, his mind already churning with darker possibilities. If humanity could not be crushed by conventional means, perhaps more insidious methods would be needed. Not all in the Council would accept the human's survival so easily. Marcus, for his part, only saw the opportunity for adventure. He slapped Vesh on the back once again, causing the frail xenobiologist to stagger forward. "So, Doc," he said cheerfully, "who do I talk to about setting up a taco stand around here?" The Chancellor let out a sound that could almost be mistaken for a chuckle. The councillors, still reeling, found themselves drawn irresistibly into Marcus's gravitational field. Against all odds, the human had not only survived their test but had charmed his way into the very heart of galactic power. Above the assembly, the swirling suns dimmed slightly, signaling the formal close of the session. Yet all present knew that something far greater had begun, a new era, unpredictable, dangerous, and exhilarating. As Marcus was led away for a series of briefings he would almost certainly ignore, the Chancellor watched him go, a silent smile playing across his mandibles.